go to Lord Salisbury, who replaced Gladstone as the British Prime Minister in June of 1885.
So, Lord Salisbury, I am informed that you, about a year ago, became British Prime Minister. What will you do regarding Germany and East Africa?
Well, I am prepared to be a little more proactive than my predecessor, Gladstone, and I think that the base should be established in Africa so that we can rightfully claim our land and not have anyone else try to. We're going to have some business with a man named McKinnon to preserve our position there.
After you, Britain and Germany decided on drawing some rough boundary lines in East Africa. What have you decided regarding the culture that was already present?
The Sultan already had control of many areas there, and we believe that he should remain in control to keep his authority over those places because we'd like the local governments to govern themselves. To be able to govern internally, we'll just handle the external affairs and make sure no one comes into our territories.
Back to this man, McKinnon. What can you tell us about the business that him and you are partaking in?
McKinnon has been looking to us lately because he wants to get our approval to strengthen his relations with Sultan Bargash. He's telling us he wants special treatment, more than ordinary support. Personally, I think it's a little ridiculous.
Why is that ridiculous?
Well, he's asking us to give him more support than normally we would anyone else. I told him we can't. We can only support him as one of our other subjects.
But didn't the British East Africa Association, McKinnon's company, gain complete political authority over that area?
Yes, Sultan Bargash gave them that authority, but soon after, I decided that I agreed with the members of the association and took the company under British control. We knew that we'd been in Egypt for a while, so it made sense to take control of the company. We needed to gain control over the Nile for resources and trade, so we trusted McKinnon's promise that his company would come at no cost to the taxpayers. He would just help us control part of the coast where we needed to reach the sources of the Nile easily.
Next, we will speak to Frederick Lugard, a British soldier and explorer in 1880.
Mr. Lugard, tell me about your experience in Africa when you led an expedition there very recently.
Well, my men and I traveled down to Africa as an armed force to establish our company's authority in other places, especially Uganda. When we arrived, we heard of the treaty that Uganda signed with Germany, establishing friendly relations with them, introduced by Karl Peters. So our Prime Minister, Salisbury, decided that he would give up some territories in Europe to keep Uganda. Eventually, we negotiated that Germany would recognize Uganda as our territory if we gave them some on the coast.
So after establishing these colonies, did either Britain or Germany spend any money establishing officials there?
No, we didn't, and neither did Germany. We essentially let them govern themselves through our chartered companies, but it actually didn't work out too nicely.
Oh, and why did you encounter problems?
Well, initially it was Germany that encountered the most problems. They borrowed a lot of money to help start plantations in Africa, but they weren't able to pay it all back. They eventually lost all connections to any resources because they had no money, and the Germans lost all their control down there in Africa.
So what about Britain? Did you follow shortly after?
Yes, unfortunately. We obviously were perfectly fine with Germany losing all their connections in Africa, but the same thing happened to us. We wanted to build a railroad between the lakes and the coast to transport resources, but our company was bankrupt and we were being forced to leave. However, many Protestants didn't want me to leave because they thought that if I was gone, those crazy Frenchmen would come in and create a Catholic proctorate.
Eventually, though, you pulled out of Africa, am I correct? How exactly did that happen?
Well, not exactly. The liberals took power and there was a lot of talk of leaving Egypt. Our company was ready to leave, but instead we decided to keep focusing on building the railroad and investing in developing Uganda, even though we were low on money. However, it paid off greatly as we started to create a whole new territory under our sphere of influence, called Kenya. We have now primarily shifted our focus to developing that area as it has a lot of potential to become a very popular place.
Thank you very much, Frederick Lugard. We can now fully understand the history of how Kenya became a large political area in Africa.
Thanks for having me.